Okay,
one.
I think we're
Yeah.
going tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Yeah, they're calling for snow now, this on Sunday, so fingers crossed, I don't want to miss another Monday, so
Right, right.
That'll be
I'm
fun.
just hoping they're just, it's all just fluff.
well, I want to thank everybody for joining. This is the first time we've done something like this, and Iris pushed me a little bit, and I said, you know what, you're right. We need to have a session like this every once in a while, and so, today it's informal. I brought together as many models who are interested in seeing each other, learning some of our best practices, and just sharing information. I know a lot of times we bring models in, they pose for their class, and then that's it. It's like you don't get to see anybody else. And it's even worse in the new studio, because in the old studio, we were in one big space. But in the new one, you're off in a separate room with COVID. And so nobody talks, nobody does anything. So this is an opportunity to see some of the other models, see some of the people that are important to the school. So I've got our president and dean, James Savoie and Dan Thompson are both going to talk just for a couple minutes here. There's a group in DC that I've been working with for a few years, the DC Art Model Collective. So I've got Gazelle, Jaylene, and did Sheba make it too? I don't know if she's on, but
I'm here.
Oh, there she is. Yep. Hello. They're going to talk a little bit about things you can do online or outside of Studio Incamminati. And then Iris, who was the instigator here, is going to talk about a few best practices and really just open up the discussion for everybody of things that we all can do better. And as Dan started to say, that having great models is great for everybody. So when the models do a good job, the students are inspired, and when the students are inspired, the models do a good job, and it just feeds off everything. And we are so appreciative of the effort that everybody puts forth. So, this is just a good time here to share some best practices. After the session too, I am assembling a list. I already had one, but I've gotten some more feedback for additional places that you can model in the area. So in the suburbs or in Philadelphia, as much as I try to accommodate everybody's needs, there's only so much scheduling we can do. And so I know people, are looking for more opportunities, and I'm more than happy to share those. I mean, so I'm trying to assemble a list and help you guys out too, and just do everything we can to make you successful. So as I said, I'm recording this too, so this will be available offline. I know I had a few people who couldn't attend, but let's just hop into it. I'll keep people's microphones on. If it's noise in your environment, go ahead and mute. But otherwise, let's just make this a little bit of a discussion and go ahead and get started. So to kick things off, I was going to have James just talk a little bit about the school. And, I know a lot of the models know some of our history, but, not everybody does. And it's a good refresher. So James, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thanks, Scott. I appreciate it, and thanks for organizing this. And I really do appreciate meeting with you all. As Dan said, you're really important to what we do at Studio Incamminati. So I've been at Studio Incamminati since last March when we closed. So, but it's been a great time. Dan's a great partner to work with. Scott's great to work with. In that time, we outfitted a new space and moved into the Bach building. So in terms of the history of the school, so it started by Nelson Shanks and his wife Leona back in 2002. They opened the doors. They would spend a lot of time designing the curriculum, and really thoughtful curriculum that was responding to, I think, what they perceived as big holes in art education, in teaching drawing and painting. And so their curriculum really is a dynamic program that combines both the classical tradition of the late Renaissance and the full robust palette of the Impressionists. And they spent a lot of time in developing a curriculum that actually focused on skill building and technique, but in the service of creativity. So, really, I think it's an exciting curriculum. And 2012, the school was accredited to offer the Advanced Fine Art program, which is a 4-year program designed really to be full-time intensive program. It's a diploma, and so the age range for students in that program is from 17 to I think 79 or 80. And it's a really nice mix of students. You've seen the students in the class. It's great to have that intergenerational quality. Last year, when I arrived, I was aware that the school had entered into an arrangement with Rowan University to offer a Bachelor of Fine Art in studio art with an atelier concentration. So Dan and I really worked hard to launch that program. And so what that program is about is, giving students the opportunity to do their creative studio courses with Incamminati, and then finish their liberal arts component for the bachelor's degree at Rowan University, hopefully within 4 years. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but that's an exciting program for me because I think a lot of the students on the younger end of our student body are really interested in a degree program. And we're not currently accredited to offer a degree, so that really gives us a nice pathway to offer this to a whole group of students that haven't been a part of this before. So I'm really excited about that. Looking down the future, we want to, I should back up and say we also offer, a whole bunch of continuing ed courses, workshops, master classes, and art education courses. I think that are all really exciting. And we have some other interesting programs with the Project Home, where we're with faculty working with formerly homeless individuals, teaching them some of the skills we teach our regular students, which is great, really empowering those students. We also partner with the Doan Academy, where we go to teach the studio Incamminati way to high school students. But looking to the future, we would like to build the BFA program and really become known in art education for what will be a robust BFA program, and fill the hole that Nelson and Leona really were seeking to fill. In the space, we were really excited about the space at the Bach building. We think it's a really rich environment because there's so many other artists and designers in the building. If you've take a look at the directory, I think there's 170 tenants in the building. We're currently the largest, but a really interesting group of tenants. So just from the perspective of the building, it's a really great environment to be in, but also the neighborhood, I think, is much more interesting than where the Wolf building was in Spring Garden near the Reading Terminal Market. The other thing I would say about that space, we're currently finishing up a big renovation project on the south end of the floor, where the level 1 students work on the drawing with graphite and charcoal. We're building, if you've been in the building recently, you've seen the skylight project that's going on there. It's a big, dirty, messy project, but we hope that'll be done in the next month. And you'll see beautiful skylight studios used for sculpture work and for cast drawing. We also have that hallway that runs east to west, which is going to be our gallery. We've never had a gallery before, and that'll be activated and inaugurated in March with the Bennett Prize. Stephen Bennett, who's on our board, is a big art collector and a big proponent of women figurative realist artists. So that's who this prize is geared toward. It's only for women. And the prize is $50,000 for the winner of that. The first time it was offered, there were 10 finalists, and including the winner, Annika Ingold, who's lectured for us. That show is going to be put up in our space on March 15th. So we'll have 29 pieces by these 10 artists that are really incredible pieces, some of them quite large. So you'll see the space sort of dramatically transformed in March into what'll be a remarkable gallery space. So we're really excited by that. So now those are the it's a sort of future of the institution. We want to have great art in our hallways, and we want to be making great art and teaching great students. So Dan and I and Scott was at for a while earlier this morning, an open house for potential new students. We had 98 people sign up. There were about 60 people that showed up in the Zoom room. So really, it's an exciting time for the schools. I think we grow and expand. So, Dan, did I miss anything?
No, sounds good, Jim.
All right. Well, that's a thumbnail sketch. I'm going to turn over to Dan, who I think is going to talk about the value of models to what we do. Dan is the academic dean. He's really in charge of the curriculum and what we do with the curriculum. My background, by the way, is in performing arts. So I always step aside when it comes to the curricular issues and defer to Dan on those.
So James, just one quick question first. In years past, we always had so many other additional activities outside of class. We had nighttime curriculum education classes, we had workshops coming in, we had workshops over the summer. And so there were sort of additional modeling opportunities that we had at school. Do we envision those returning? And I mean, I know no one knows any timing, but hopefully I've had questions about things over the summer, like will there be workshops in the summer?
Good question.
There will be, I know, and Dan can talk a little bit about those. We are currently, and I don't know if it'll happen this summer, but we're currently working on a project with the High School for Creative and Performing Arts, which is near the Bach Building. It's on Broad in Washington. We've talked to the faculty there. Dan did a great demo for about 75 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. And we've talked to them about providing a workshop to keep their art students engaged over the summer. So we're actually meeting this week. Darren Kingsley, one of our faculty members, is going to be doing helping to design the curriculum for what will be, I think, potentially a 4-week intensive drawing class for them. So
yeah, you forget about all the things that we used to do. We used to have that high school program running every Sunday. So
right. Well, the emerging artist program is still it's been sort of suspended during coronavirus. A lot's been suspended. We're thankful that because we moved into a new space with such great HVACs, a brand new HVAC system, and big studios, that we could reconvene in person. And we're doing, and I thank you all. Everybody is part of the community, signed a community compact. Abiding by the sort of protocol that we've developed, looking at the CDC's recommendation to mask up and wash your hands and be socially distant. All really important things to keep our community safe. So I appreciate it.
So Dan, I've made you co-host. I think that allows you to share.
Great. Yeah, I just want to begin with an opening statement, if I can, which is a statement of thanks. I want to thank you, our terrific models, for your courage through COVID and your dedication. Not only your dedication to continuing to pose and in the midst of this social upheaval that we've experienced, but also your dedication to your craft. And it really is, speaking of performing arts, a less recognized than it should be performing art. And I remember distinctly having a conversation years ago when we had the Janus Collaborative School of Art open with a model, and she was wonderful. And she came back to me and asked me what, in my opinion, made a great model. And I thought about it, and my response was the model brings something intangible to the forum. They know how to emanate. They bring a presence to modeling, and you should know just how pivotal that is for us, the artists. Jim talks about the high school artists. When those high school artists come in, this is really their first exposure to the glory of the human body. And when that is presented in a way that makes it look just extraordinary, gripping, overwhelming, both from an aesthetic standpoint and also from the potential of creating works of art that stand the test of time, that's a very powerful thing. And you should know just how important that is and how much we appreciate that. So I'll share my screen unless somebody's listening to the radio. Hold on a second. So, Scott asked me to say a couple of things for 5 minutes, and I just wanted to bring some of this to your attention. In case you don't know, I don't know if you'll find this interesting. I hope that you do, but really, it begins at the Philadelphia Museum, which has a painting that I remember looking at, and it's of this particular model on the right side. Some of you may know this painting, some of you may not, but I encountered her when I went to Germany and found her again, and there she was. And she turns out to have been a popular model named Anna Ricci, called Nana. And she posed for Lord Leighton, she posed for Feuerbach, and she's one of these faces that comes across to us from time, from earlier generations, and is a testimony to how powerful works of art are because of the models. Certainly, artistic interpretation and narratives built of the models are part of it, but it is such an important thing that you are at the core of creativity. So we got Anna Ricci. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of a guy called Beach, Charles Allwood Beach. He was known as the Arrow shirt collar man because he was painted and drawn by an artist named J.C. Leyendecker, who's become a really coveted artist these days. So he was known as the all-American man whose allure was such that the company was said to have received thousands of pieces of fan mail. This comes from the secret life of the Arrow shirt collar man. So here he is. Now, of course, he's a bit of an exaggeration, right? So how many people do you know that are 12 heads tall? Not many, I suspect, but this is Beach, or was Beach, and he was a partner to J.C. Leyendecker. I also want to introduce you to, or reintroduce you to, as the case may be, Hetty Anderson, also called Harriet Eugenia Anderson. Here she is, a photograph of her. Now, you may not know this, but you've probably walked past her before. So let me talk to you a bit about her. This is from the St. Gaudens National Historic Site. Hetty Anderson was born in South Carolina in 1873. She relocated to New York City, where she became an artist model, an uncommon employment at that time for a woman of African-American descent. So what happened was, and this is Hetty Anderson behind St. Gaudens in the famous Anders Zorn etching. St. Gaudens used Hetty Anderson, if you can believe this, as the angel leading General Sherman through the South in this fabulous, just incomparable memorial. So who would have thought, Hetty Anderson leading General Sherman? There's so much amazing symbolism in that, in terms of like restoring human dignity to, the nation. And by the way, she also became the model for one of the most famous coins in American numismatic history. She's on the famous St. Gaudens, I think it's the $20 gold piece, which one can pick up. There she is, for a couple grand at this point in time. A couple other slides, if I may. This is Evelyn Nesbit. So Evelyn Nesbit is known especially as the Gibson Girl. I'm not sure if you've heard of the Gibson Girl, but Nesbit's figure and face appeared frequently in mass circulation newspapers and magazine advertisements, on souvenir items, and in calendars, making her a celebrity. Her career began in her early teens in Philadelphia and continued in New York, where she posed for a cadre of respected artists of the time and of the era, notably James Carroll Beckwith, Frederick S. Church, and especially Charles Dana Gibson, where he memorialized her as the Gibson Girl, the kind of personification of the flapper of the 1920s. So there's a bit of suffrage in that as well. And then I think I have one more for you, and that is Audrey Munson. So this is Audrey Munson. And what is she famous for? Well, if you've ever been through Manhattan, you might have seen her, because she's the second largest statue in New York City after the Statue of Liberty. So lauded by many people as both the American Venus and the perfect woman, she is the subject of a handful of its largest sculptures and is featured in a whopping 30 statues in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, among which are this famous statue in the Met. There she is. And the Manhattan Municipal Building, where she is at the top of the municipal building. So I'm going to close my presentation with a quote coming out of the Norman Rockwell book, where he says, The models were our comrades in art. Together, we were creating something fine. And that's very much how we see you. You are our colleagues and our comrades. And without you, we can't do anything. So thank you for doing what you do. And I hope we can do it in perpetuity in the future.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, I still remember, you know, a few years ago, Dan gave us a tour of the Met Museum. And we were there looking at an artist. I don't even remember who it was, but it was, you know, way back. And you know, you go to the museum and you admire these paintings and you forget that there's actually a model behind each one of them. But we saw this collection by the same artist. And so he had like 30 paintings there. And you'd say, okay, well, there's the model in that painting. And now I walk down and I see a few feet down, here's the model in that painting. And it, you know, really brought home, for me at least, the connection that, man, when we're painting people, it's the same thing that they were doing hundreds of years ago. And you know, so it's really a time-honored tradition.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, I remember when Nelson was teaching at the league, and if Nelson came in and had this idea of boldness in this kind of willingness to let go in the students, if that was pervasive in the room, it was working. And if the model wasn't in the same kind of mindset, it was almost like there was a disconnect. So we couldn't make it work unless everybody was in that same kind of thought process, and that made it magical, and it still makes it magical.
You know what's fun here today too is, I mean, a lot of you who have joined us this year, I've never seen you without a mask. Probably never seen me either.
Oh, isn't it funny? I know. We do have faces beyond our eyes, and you know.
Yeah, it's been a new experience painting everybody with masks. I mean, at first it was fun, and then it was like, oh, okay, another mask.
I know.
Certainly the work from this year will be identifiable easily. Oh, that's from 2020.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I love about art, is how it you know, it really it stands the test of time, and it lets folks know like what was happening in that particular time frame, you know, where we went from without masks to masks, and you know, hopefully beyond masks. So art really is very historical.
I'm thinking about those images of Dr. Paul Richer of the anatomy guy, because he always has that French 19th century mustache, and that's how he was made. So yes.
Yes, that's right. I remember him. Yes.
Gazelle, I'll turn the floor over to you, or I don't know if all three of you are going to talk, or.
I'll start, and then Julene and Shiva will both probably pop in with some stuff. So I'm one of the co-admins for the DC Art Model Collective. And really, the group was actually formed prior to COVID, but really COVID was really the catapult that sort of pushed us into like, all right, we really got to get things together as a group. And so, you know, for us, it's been monumental in that regard. So it's been challenging, but it's been very fruitful, I would say. So what the group does just as a whole is we started to support the models that are local to the DMV area. And connecting with each other primarily because like during the whole COVID experience, there's just been this whole of like, what do I do? What can we do? What should we be doing? Is there work available? Where is the work? So we kind of really formed locally to bring a support group to the models that were local to the DMV area. And then with that, reaching out to other models in other areas that we know that were feeling that same sense of loss that we were feeling in our local area, and connecting with them and encouraging and supporting them to reach out to models in their local area, because other models were experiencing the same things that we were experiencing in our area, where it's like, oh, hey, I used to at least go to a building and even if you didn't necessarily have a full conversation with a model, you at least would hear their timer on the other side of the wall, or you pass each other, in the walls, in the hallways on the way to the bathroom. So you at least had that little bit of a connection. But with this, it was like there was nothing, and you just really felt like isolated. So the forming of the group was really for us to have a way to connect with each other and to support each other, just throughout this whole aspect. And then we started trying to find ways to work. And one of the things was, hey, doing the online sessions. So we, three of us, we started with a few more admins, but, we sort of tapered down a little bit. So there's the three of us now. And we've done an enormous amount of research and put a lot of time and effort into doing an orientation and a training with equipping model with the skills and the ability to be able to not just run an online session on their own, but to also, if there is an opportunity for a class or a workshop and it's online, that they can step into that environment and be prepared without the instructor having to then train them. Okay, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to do that for Zoom. I need you to set your camera up here. We sort of prepare them for that process. So when they step into a Zoom class, the instructor can just teach and not have to instruct the model on, hey, I need you to do this, though. This is what you do for controlling Zoom, or I need you to do this for your camera. They already know that process. And we have this whole guide and everything that we set up with that. And we really have made it accessible to the people that are local to us, but we are making that accessible to other models that are in areas that are around us, again, because we know that other models in other areas are experiencing the same thing that we are. And so, we really want to be a support to them as much as possible. So I don't know, Julian and Sheba, do you guys want to chime in?
Sure. I'll add a couple things. So what we did locally by working together is we actually ended up creating session opportunities for artists, because all the open sessions, literally every single one, had closed for months.
Yeah.
And so by us offering fairly regularly scheduled sessions, the artists then had something to do. They didn't have to register for a class or anything. They could just attend our open session. So it filled that need for them for a while. And then we've been able to kind of inspire or massage some of the organizations to start considering doing their open sessions again. So we've been able to work with a couple of schools so that to help them through being able to offer classes with models and open sessions with models and events with models. It's all taking place virtually. And all of the models in our collective are able to go and kind of do some of that outreach because they know how to handle a virtual session. So then they can go and assure artists and instructors and schools, I can walk you through this process. And so that continues to help generate jobs. So that's what we've done locally. And so we're really big on being able to help other models help their local communities, because that's where the relationships are with your artists. Sometimes people have been able to have a really great international connection, but really the people who've supported us are our local people, our local artists. We support them and they've supported us. So to be able to help other models find that with their local communities, but have, these strong skills. So we have an informational packet. It's multiple pages and has everything from
growing. I think it's probably at 10 now.
Yeah, I think it's 10 pages with how to set up a camera, how to set up your lights, what kind of, what technical things that you might need. And then we were doing some orientation sessions and feedback sessions. Most of those were for our local models, but we actually did have a model from Philadelphia who attended, and so that went well.
It's mostly just been interest, hasn't been that high from other areas. So, sorry.
Yep. And locally, we also set up a model social on Zoom. We don't do it every month, but every couple of months, we just have a Zoom that's just for models to, you know, say hi and connect. So I would say we're, you know, open if other models want to come to us for those resources. You know, we don't charge or anything. That's our community service to other models, is to share this information that we have.
That's wonderful.
Well, I don't have a whole lot else to add to what Gazelle and Jillian have already said. I would reiterate that our focus has been on our local community, and that each time we talk to other models in other areas, we reiterate the importance of looking to your local model community. And if you don't have a local model community, maybe that's a sign that you should try to start connecting to your local models and create the foundation or the basics of that. And we don't mean anything like really extravagant or organized, just simply like maybe just start with conversations about, you know, what it's like to work with specific artists or something, because with each new model, with each person that you meet, with each model that you meet, you grow your connection. And you're never going to know all of the models in your community, but you'll know about other models by reputation, by the models that you're connected to. And so the more connected you are as a group, the stronger you will be as a group, because you'll be able to share more information that is relevant to you on a local basis. So you want to share safety information, you want to share information about how to sign up, how to get registered with the school, because sometimes the support with a school or institution, you know, they don't really walk you through the paperwork. They kind of just give you a packet and you've got to figure it out. And a lot of times models we're on the fringes for various reasons. We haven't applied to jobs for a long time. So that process can be difficult to get through if you're not used to going through that process. So being able to consult with and talk to other models, I'm like, oh, hey, so I'm not sure what paperwork I should bring. I'm not sure what kinds of identification I could bring. Just having a group of people that you can go to ask questions or advice, or even just moral support is extremely helpful, because this is kind of a weird profession. There's not a lot of other people out there who get it other than other models. I mean, sure, you can talk to artists about a lot of things, but it can be more comfortable to talk to other models about these things. So, and community is huge. And you can get community from talking to models in other cities. All three of us certainly have, but having a foundation in your local area is very important.
If people want to learn more about your organization, where should they go? Should they go to your website?
Yeah, they can go to the website, and it's dcartmodelcollective.com. Thank you, Shiva. And we do actually have, for models that are local. Well, I mean, we are extending PA. We consider it still to be local to us, primarily because a lot of us travel to PA and to New York. So for us, that is still considered local. So we do have like this questionnaire thing that you can fill out if you are interested in being a part of the collective.
And if you just email us, we'll send that to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, or, you know, if you're interested in seeing how you can start your own social network with models in your area, but you're not quite sure how to go about it, we have done that. So we are happy to tell you, you know, how we did it and see if that might help you.
Because it's great that Incamminati is doing this. Like, I really wish one of our local organizations had done something like this for us. But it also is helpful to have your own thing, you know, so it doesn't feel like your parents are listening in or something like that.
You guys need your own session so you can all complain about me behind my back.
Now we love you.
You know, Studio Incamminati is happy to we have a corporate Zoom account. If you want to use our Zoom, you know, you can get up to 300 people in that, so we're happy to do that. When weather gets nice, if you want to have a model happy hour out on our roof terrace, we're happy to host that.
Love that.
Oh, thank you.
We want to support you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
We appreciate that
I'll
support.
echo that too. I mean, I'm so looking forward to better times and better weather, because we have an awesome space now. I know Gazelle, you've been here, but not everybody from the DC group has been here. I mean, we have a whole rooftop that we can go and you know, spend time on, and we eat
Awesome up
lunch
there.
there. It's just a great view of the city.
Yeah, Gazelle was telling us a bit about it. I'm like, I want to come up.
Yes.
I mean, I appreciate the way that you guys have, through the pandemic, like the safety measures that you have taken and your continuous and willingness to adapt to continue working with models, because that has been a little bit of kickback that we've gotten, not just from our local area, but other models have gotten in their areas too, where it's just been like, oh, well, we're just gonna wait and you guys will be here when this is over. And it's like, well, we're not going to be here when this is over. Like, we have to have something that sustains us through this, or we won't be here when this is over.
Exactly.
That's what we keep
People
trying
forget
to
about that part.
iterate again and again with everyone that we come into contact with, is that we need the support here and now, because otherwise there's not going to be any models after this. You know, it's a very shocking and sad reality, but it's where we are right now.
I want to add to that, if I may, Giselle. That's well said. I was talking with Kathy Cohen about getting back to business in person, and she was talking about the idea, the notion of getting back to business in the studio with in-person learning, and essentially the students said, "We're not coming back. We're not coming." This was last August, you know, by the way, and then again last December. So part of what we're trying to do at Incamminati, and I'm sure what Kathy's doing in Virginia is very similar, because she's so capable and she's awesome, but is to reinstill in the minds of the students that if you really want to learn this stuff the right way, you come back to an in-person situation, because you can walk around the forum, you can look at the individual, and some things are great virtually, but in comparison, it just isn't inadequate for what we're trying to, all of us, do. We're definitely working on that.
And thank you.
And you're doing a great job too, working on
Yeah.
it. So it's really good. Just as a model, I feel totally comfortable going to Studio Incamminati. I really do. And so I have noticed the measures that Giselle said, and I feel very comfortable going into the studio. So thank you for all of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even before then, like, I think you guys are one of the few places that I can honestly say that you are concerned about cleanliness in the model. Because there's a lot of times when we're working in areas where the fabrics that we sit on or stand on have not been washed in like 10,
oh my God.
10, 12 years. And so, you know, we as the models appreciate, and, you know, we will go above and beyond to do things when we know that we're working with people that actually care about us and our well-being, that our safety, that there are things we're like, oh, you know what, I don't really want to do that. But you know what, I know that they are not going to put me in a situation where it's going to be harmful to my well-being, that, you know what, I can stay a little bit longer. I can stay 5 more minutes in that pose, even though I'm like, normally I would say no, but in this instant, you know, it's those times that it means something. It really does. It really does. So thank you guys.
Well, I appreciate hearing that, you know, because every once in a while I hear a story like that and I'm like, really? That's what it's like in another place? I can't believe it.
You know, you guys don't know. You guys at Studio Incamminati do not know other places. Like, you are the gold standard compared to some other places. So yes.
That's appreciated. And, you know, I know we all do truly care about our models. And I think we would have been in the opposite boat, that if we had not brought back some of the models this year, I'm not sure the students would have come back. So I don't think Ann and James, you guys had to convince anybody about models. I think that was almost a requirement. We had to do that to stay open.
Yeah.
But speaking of our models, so I want to turn the floor over. You know, thank you guys from the DC collective. You know, maybe we can start organizing a Philly collective. But with that, I'll turn it over
Yeah, that would be awesome.
The lead
Yeah. I've written it down, so if I've written it down, so that means it must happen.
So Iris, the floor is yours.
Oh, okay. Hey, everybody, I am Iris, and I coaxed Scott and James and Dan into doing this. So, and thank you all for coming. So I just wanted to let you know about myself. I actually became a full-time art model. I am 58 years old, and you can do anything. Okay, if I'm changing my career at 58, then you can do anything. And I'm having a fabulous time. I'm blessed with good health, and I can do this job, and I like it very much. It means a lot to me. So just know that you can model for as long as you want to model. I was in New York one time, and all these older women came in. They were beautiful with silver hair, and some of them were on canes and things. I was like, I can model till I'm like 100 if I want to. So I'm very excited about that. Okay, so anyway, it's a good job, and I'm having a good time. So I wanted to begin with this book. I don't know if you can see it. It's probably all backwards, right? It's called The Art Model's Handbook. Oh, hi, Ron. The Art Model's Handbook, The Naked Truth About Posing for Art Classes and Fine Artists. The author is Andrew Connor, which I believe is a person who may have started the DC Art Models Collective. I think this is the gentleman. I'm not sure. You DC folks can let me know for sure. But this book was published in 2009. You kind of have to adjust it for current times, but the basics of this book are amazing. So if you're interested in becoming a full-time model, I would really suggest that you get this book. I found it on Amazon. It's less than 20 bucks. I keep it in my my model bag. It's my good luck charm. I've read it I don't know how many times, but it really gives you a really good overview of what you need to know and do as an art model. And so it has resources in here which may be outdated now, but still, like I said, the basics are there. I also wanted to mention about just being punctual and prepared. For those of us who are punctual and prepared, we get jobs. Being on time is a really huge thing in the model business. I normally am prepared at the start of class, so I don't arrive at 9 o'clock when the class is supposed to start. I'm there personally at like 8:30 only because I have to be there at 8:30. It just makes me feel more comfortable. So being on time and being punctual really helps with you getting more and more jobs. So keep that in mind as you're modeling. And some of the tools of the trade I'm going to mention, you may not need any of these tools, okay? Especially for those of us who model at Studio Incamminati. Studio Incamminati provides so much stuff that you can come there and not need anything, and then you go elsewhere and the other folks have nothing, and you're like, what is going on? So Studio Incamminati is really special about that. So you want to bring a robe, but as I said, Studio Incamminati has clean robes. So if you feel comfortable with your robe, wear one, okay? But I'll have one for you. And the best robes I find, everyone, are at thrift stores. They are beautiful and creative. So don't forget your thrift stores when it comes to these things. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You can get a beautiful robe for like $2 or $3. And then if it's half price day, don't even, oh my God. That is just a beautiful day when the garment is half off of $2, okay? So that's a great day. Sandals and slip-ons, you want shoes that you can slip into, because when you come to your break, you have to deal with sneakers or shoes that you kind of have to put on. It can be a little bit cumbersome. So just make sure you have some candles and slip-ons, you know, at other schools, well, there used to be where there'd just be all kinds of stuff on the floor. So you want to make sure you protect your feet.
All those clear tacks.
Yes, that's right. So, be sure to hydrate. Even though you're just standing still for 20-minute intervals, you still need to hydrate. So don't forget to do that, everyone. bring some form of liquid with you to bring. And also props are wonderful. And when you think of a prop, think of something that's personal to you that makes you feel comfortable to hold or stand with. It can be anything from your past, if you're an athlete or a dancer, or you had another job, that might be interesting for the artist to add to their drawings. Bring it. Artists love things like that. So just remember that bringing a prop, look around the room that you're in. You might see something there. I have a stick that I found out somewhere and it's bent and wonderful. And I add that to my poses sometimes. Studio Incamminati provides nothing for you to stand on. Many places do not. And in those cases, I always have a yoga mat with me and my security blanket. So I have my good luck charm book and my security blanket with me. So if there's a blanket or something that you feel comfortable sitting on or putting out in front of you, because as Giselle said, many of these places do not wash their sheets, their linens, or anything, and it's kind of not everyone, but some places do. And if you bring your own sheet or blanket, you know that you're sitting on your own stuff, and
But you haven't fully worked in New York City.
Say what?
I said, well, you haven't fully worked in New York City.
Okay, all right.
There's a whole, in New York City, you're responsible for your own stuff.
Ah, okay, all right. So this is why I'm giving you this list of stuff to bring in case you're like Ron, who is a huge model in New York City. Oh my gosh, he's amazing. So
if you're in Incamminati, thank Yuko. She's the one that takes care of washing all the fabrics, and she does a fabulous job. I mean,
Great.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh, yes,
That's
okay.
amazing.
Yuko is awesome. You all meet Yuko eventually. And also, if you want to bring a cushion or a blanket or a cushion, so when you're doing prone poses, sometimes you might want to lay on a cushion. I'm actually have these cushions here that I'm going to cover in fabric just to make something for me because I don't have one. But once again, Studio Incamminati can provide those things for you, but other places do not. So mad props to Studio Incamminati for doing that. Also, I know that as I'm aging, I have trouble standing for long poses during the day. So I find the high stools in the room. The high stools can keep me upright for the poses that the artist needs for upright poses, but I can kind of lean on a stool. So be sure to, accommodate yourself when it comes to poses. You know what the instructors and artists need, but be aware of your body and what it can do.
Absolutely.
Yes, for poses, especially for poses that are 5 minutes or shorter, you can make them dynamic. Like you're already nude anyway, right? So, the embarrassment level should be gone. So if you want to make all these crazy poses for 1 and 2 minutes, do them. This is what these artists want to see, all these different poses. Don't forget your back. Don't forget to turn your back to the artist sometimes because backs are beautiful. All right, so keep that in mind. Know your body's strengths. Like if you have amazing arms or your feet are pretty or your back or your bum, anywhere. Like if you have a part of your body that is a little bit stronger, show that, right? These artists, they want to see everything from every model. And I love one thing about figure drawing model is artists love to draw everybody. Like it's not about that commercial BS where you have to be super thin and blah, blah, blah. Not in the art studio. They just love to draw everybody, which makes me feel beautiful. It really does. Remember, everybody, your body is beautiful in front of a realist artist. It really is. So just keep that in mind. You'll eventually come to a comfortable pose, and all you have to do it is one time, and then you will never do it again because you can't hold it. So holding pose is very important. Being still is very important. Focus on a point on the wall. If there's no point on the wall for you to focus on, have the artist put a sticky or something on the wall for you to focus on, because your face changes a little bit when your eyes change and go to other directions. So focusing on a point helps keep your head steady for one thing, and also just keeps your face in a place where the artist can draw it. Being still is very important, of course. Doing yoga and other athletic things can be helpful to your poses. You know, when your body is open and able to manipulate itself, you have a greater access of modeling poses to do when your body is a little bit open. So I would suggest that you don't have to be that, but if you do that, it's very helpful. I will say that about it. Also for resources, there are a couple of websites you can go to for poses, everyone, because sometimes you don't know how to pose, right? You know how to stand, but you need help. I need help. There's a website called artmodeltips.com. Great poses. That's a great resource. Posesspace.com. So it's POSESPACE.com. You have to register for that website, but that's all you have to do is register for it, and you get ideas there. I also found something last night called quickposes.com, and that's another resource for poses. And, just search the internet for poses. Just search, figure drawing model poses and see what comes up for you. And I do plan to do something about a Philly collective. So when we do that, we can share what we find. And yes, and look to your life for poses. How do you stand when you're cooking? How do you stand when you're doing something? How do you sit when you're reading? Pull from your own life for poses. Just keep that in mind. And then there's sequential posing. For instance, if you're walking, you're be in a pose for a couple seconds and then you move and you're walking, right? Do that for a couple times. Or, when you're opening the refrigerator, how does that look? Every 1 minute, move your body as you're opening the refrigerator, or walking, or opening a bottle, or doing a sporting activity, or anything you can think of in your life that could be, sequential posing, where you pose and then you move a little bit and keep going. And so the artists have this great, I just love looking at their work, and they have this, these beautiful poses of you in these sequential poses. So think about that too. It doesn't have to be quite so difficult for those poses. And please remember to have fun, everyone. I think this job, for me anyway, is a fun job. On break, you can interact with the artists if you choose. Look at the artwork that they've made of you. I think it's so fascinating to see these artists draw you, right? And you get to see it. And I ask if I can take pictures, so that's an option too. So I always ask, but do that. And we have the terrace. So on breaks and on lunch, we have the terraces that someone spoke of to have events and to go to for your breaks and for lunch. So ask about those. And I think that's really all I have to say. Are there any other models out there who can add, their experience to the conversation here? Please do.
I am going to piggyback off of what you said about practicing poses. I think that's actually a good thing. It's something that I started doing when I first started modeling, because I would actually just set a timer. And there would be a pose where I'm like, oh, that looks really cool. Like, I'm going to try it. So I'd set a timer and I'd get into the pose and see how long I could actually hold it, which is very good, because sometimes when you go to a class and the instructor has a specific lesson plan, and so they're like, hey, can you do this pose? because you've been practicing at home and they ask you, hey, what's the length of time that you can do a standing pose, or you could do this specific pose or contrapposta, you can immediately tell them, well, you know, I could do that if I had a third point of contact for 25 minutes, but without that third point of contact, I can only do it maybe 15. But if you don't have that body awareness and you haven't practiced to know, you can't convey that information to the instructor when they're asking, hey, can you do this? And then you end up putting yourself in a very painful, hurtful situation that it can
Yes.
have long-term effects that, you know, you could have avoided had you known, yeah, I can't do this, you know, and it's okay to say, I can't do this, you know, I
Yes,
mean,
yes, indeed it is.
that's why there's different models and we all do different things, because then they have the ability to say, okay, hey, I know that this model can do this specific thing. This is the model that I'm going to select for this class to do this. We don't all have to do the same things. That's why there's so many of us. So, I mean, say no when you need to say no. Don't just say yes because, you know.
Yeah, and
Yes, you do have that option. You definitely have the option
and
to say, I can't do this, but I can do this.
yeah, and the instructors are usually very accommodating with if you are not able to do something, with saying, make the modification that you need in order for us to still have what we need for the class plan, but it's not going to be harmful to you. So,
yeah, a lot of times, if I can't do a particular pose, I'll say, well, I can't do that one, but I can do this, which is very similar. How does this work for you all? So I'm being
Right.
proactive rather than just being, no, I can't do that.
exactly. Yeah.
Being engaged and finding a solution for them can be really helpful because they don't know how your body works. Whereas,
And that's about knowing your body. Ron, you were going to say something?
Yes, I wanted to say that the one thing about being a figure model is you have to be, like you said, unique, but also be able to challenge the students. Sorry about the noise in the background. I'm kind of like in the laundromat. I forgot about the meeting today, so I'm sorry about that. But you want to be able to challenge the students. This business, I've been in this business about 12 years now, and the one thing I can say is you can become very forgettable very fast. So you want to be able to bring a new look, bring a new style to posing, and also keep the students and the artists interested. And I've modeled all in about 6 different states in the eastern part of the United States. So New York is very different. New York is very, I would say, more competitive than I would say Philadelphia as far as modeling. Maryland is different. I've also been to Florida. So all these different places you gain experience and you bring a new flair to the industry. As I was talking to you before, Iris, when we first met, when I first started figure modeling, I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry about that. When I first started modeling, I didn't really see too many African American figure models in a lot of schools. So that's why I wanted to be a part of this initiative to also help bring forth a collective of models from all different nationalities in one setting. So one thing I can say about Studio Incamminati, it was one of the first places that I ever introduced myself to the art world. And it's been a wild ride ever since. I think the school is very professional. All the coordinators, the instructors, even down to the dean and the president have been nothing but welcoming. And I enjoy working with them a lot. So I'm all on board for helping you guys do what you need to do and get for the students what you need to get. And if any models are new that are coming into the industry, if you need any far as like word of advice or any tips on certain things, I can always lend an ear and give my advice also on how everything works.
Thank you. One thing I forgot to mention, everyone, is I wanted to you know, the artists are wonderful and do their work, but I know on sometimes when we're posting, when Studio Incamminati is posting on Facebook or Instagram, they post great works from our artists. And I just think the models should be recognized as well. So if you are interested in having, you know, in being recognized in Studio Incamminati's postings, you know, you don't have to use your full name. You can just say model by Iris or model by Ron or your full name, or you don't want to be recognized at all. I just want folks to know that we are standing or sitting or whatever we're doing in these poses, inspiring artists, which I think is really one of our, should be like a job, you know, part of our job is to inspire artists, and you want to be recognized. Please let Scott know so that they can put your name on there along with the artists. I just think we should be recognized. Dan did a beautiful presentation about these amazing models. I have a model book like that of all these people who modeled all these years and just really weren't recognized. So I think in this age of communications, we have the possibility to have you all be recognized if you so choose. And that's really all.
I think we'd all be happy. As I said, we'd be happy to promote. Like, I know I post my figure paintings when I'm finished, and I'd be happy to reference or tag any model. So if you're trying to promote yourselves, just make sure you let me know or the class know, because oftentimes it's the opposite. You know, we're a little bit afraid that, oh, well, I don't know if this person wants that, or, you know, I think most people would be happy to tag or acknowledge the model in their posts.
Mm-hmm. All right, and that's all I had, Scott. I'm good, thank you.
Well, can I build on a little bit of that? Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, so there has definitely over the last 10 years been a shifting and a change in who's modeling and how they feel about being public about that. So I do realize that it is historically most figure models don't want to be acknowledged or recognized. So they do prefer to model anonymously. But in the sort of like in between phase, there's a lot of us who have chosen sort of work pseudonyms or screen names or model names, if you were. And that can be confusing to artists because it was really difficult for me to communicate to a lot of artists that this is the name I wish to be attributed as. Please don't use my full legal name when you're posting this nude torso study of me on Facebook. Even though Facebook won't censor it because it's art, I still have cousins under 18. And, you know, not that their parents are mad about it. It's just like, you know, I have to talk to these kids. So I'm not ashamed of my body or what I do, but I have boundaries in my own life. And so having a modeling pseudonym that you use, even if it's like a short version of your full name. I mean, Sheba's not my full name, but it's something that I feel comfortable being attached to my work. Although technically my modeling name is Blue River Dream, but that just didn't stick. It's just really hard for people to associate that with a face for some reason. Although I've had some small successes, but creating a social media presence that reflects your chosen modeling name will be very helpful to artists feeling more, you know, to help them feel more comfortable about tagging you. And it'll also help you be better able to network, because then you can have some consistency over the name that you're choosing to use. If your email and your social media are under the same name, both your modeling name, then when you're filling out paperwork, you can simply, you know, use your legal name for paperwork. But I found that that is helpful. Like if you have like compartmentalized life situations, like if you still have a full-time job and you need some distinction between your modeling work or your private life or things like that. And then another thing is backtracking a little bit. You were talking about posing and uniqueness and keeping things interesting. You were talking about finding inspiration from your daily life, but I've done a little bit of model coaching, and one of the things I remind people is to find something, anything. There's a big trope with like dancers being good models, And that's a little sore spot for me because I'm not a dancer at all, but I often get compared to dancers or asked if I am a dancer. So, but I do have movement background, and movement background can be anything. It can be swimming, it can be track and field, it can be
Mm-hmm.
soccer, it can be football, it can be
Absolutely.
boxing, hockey, it can
Mhm.
be, picking your little cousin up and twirling her around the room. It can be anything that you do that has an expression. It could be yoga, it could be martial arts of any kind. So just find something that has a sense of movement in it. And then if that feels natural to you, that's going to be the most graceful and most expressive way for you to pose. Don't try to learn ballet to make it look like you're a better model, but find something that is comfortable for your body to do, something that you do naturally in a movement. And so it's better to find something that you already do because those poses will be natural. So if you're a boxer, you can do those boxer stances. If you have done, martial arts, your transitions between poses will express the movements that you've learned through martial arts. So that's just something to think about. And even if you feel like, well, I don't do sports, I don't dance, I don't have anything to draw from, if you start to think about it, you'll find something. Everybody has something, a little bit, something somewhere that is movement in their life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have no background in dance, like very clumsy that way. And, I've done some physical things, but I was an artist before I modeled, and I've modeled for 21 years now. So what I did is I loved the figure models that I worked with. So when I started modeling, I was trying to mimic those poses, and some of them didn't work for my body. But other things would. So I'd also get in front of a mirror and I'm like, what do I want to see? So I'd try a pose, and then I'd, depending what I'm sitting on, I could kind of shift myself around a little, like, how does it look from that angle? So it was like, oh, okay, I really like that. Or, practicing things with hands. And also just like getting feedback from people. So, you could pose for other models, take turns posing for each other, for friends, get a friend to take some pictures, while you're posing, so you can see like, oh, this is what that looks like, from a couple different perspectives. And you can look at artwork. A lot of times, you'll show up to a class and they're like, can you do what's in this painting? And I'm like, well, I could, but physically no human can do that because like twisted the body. That spine is like a couple inches longer than any human has. So no, I can't do that. So just think about that too when you're looking at artwork for your posing inspiration. Some of it is physically impossible unless you're dismembered. So nobody wants to be a model. But you can take components of it. Like, you look at their head position. It's like, we don't always want just straight on or just very straight symmetrical poses, but sometimes you might. So just kind of see things like that and practice and try it in front of a mirror, or now you can, have it on the webcam and, watch yourself live that way. Sorry, I have parrots, my assistant models. They're commenting.
So we've been going on.
You're talking, but we can't, you're muted.
Can we go back for a second about the tagging the models?
Yes, please go right ahead.
So I do want you all to really consider, the virtual digital space can be a difficult space to be in. I know that there can be quite a bit of bullying and commenting, and so you either have to be careful or have to have pretty thick skin when you go into that space. I know this. I have a 25-year-old daughter who talks to me all the time about the bullying that goes on and the kind of nasty things that get said. She follows women's soccer pretty heartily. Some of the nasty things that some of the women's soccer players have to deal with, or women who work in the comic world. It can be a really brutal space, and you're gonna put not just your name out there, your handle out there, but your body. So I just think very carefully about that. It's a difficult space to be in.
Yes, I would hope people would be mindful of that, because I'm actually one who doesn't want to be tagged. Right. I personally don't want to, but if others want to, at least there's an opportunity for it if in fact, they agree to it. So
But
want to, but I
help
don't
you.
I don't want to limit others.
We want to promote you, but we do want to be respectful and careful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I did want to add one thing. I don't know how new everybody is who's attending, but when we're in classes and you're working with new artists, they are very sensitive. I mean, how even doing art for 20 years, you're sensitive. So you come when you do, when you're posing and engaging with the artists, you're there to help. You're part of a process. So you have to set your own ego aside. It's not, you have to understand that the piece is not going to look exactly like you, and it doesn't need to. Unless you're paying them a commission, if I'm paying my $5,000 commission for that portrait to look like me, well, I have certain expectations. But when I'm engaged in the process, especially the education process, we are there to help and assist and inspire and uplift. And I've heard stories of models going around critiquing, like negative critiques of student work. And
no.
it's horrible.
Oh my God.
So then I'll have artists, they're like, oh, what do you think of mine? And I'm like, hey, this is great. I saw what you were up to like when you first started 2 weeks ago and you had trouble with the stick figure. Look what you're doing now. This is amazing. So you can find ways to say nice things. It doesn't have to be your favorite piece. Some I'm like, oh, but I'm like, hey, this is terrific. You're engaged. Look at that. You're coming along. So just, find something nice to say, or just don't say anything. And also, like, I'll have some where they're like, if you want to take a picture of a student's work, well, ask, of course, but ask everybody, so nobody feels like they're the person whose work just sucks. Ask everybody, and what you choose to post is up to you. But yeah, because we're exposing our bodies. We're vulnerable. They're exposing like their soul on paper, so they're very vulnerable too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, we're already over an hour. I didn't think this would go this long, but I think there's been good discussion, and it sounds like Iris, there might be some opportunities for future organizations. So maybe Iris, what I can do is email out your email address and have people get in touch with you, and just let it evolve and see where things go.
Yes, please do.
And as I said before, I have a list of places that are modeling in the Philadelphia area. I don't know if they're open now, but I'm updating that list, and I will send that out to everybody. Thanks to Greg and Tamara, they're the ones that kind of championed that list in the beginning, but it's grown, and so anything we can do, as you guys think have heard today, Incamminati is very supportive of our models, and so. Thank you everybody for attending. We definitely appreciate your efforts.
Oh, thank you, Scott and Dan
Thank
and
you.
Jim and Iris for
So much, everybody.
setting this up. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, be well.
Yep.
Thank you. You too.
See you all soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.